that has always fascinated me, and maybe you can talk about it a little bit,
And please feel free to take one of these and pass around table.
is when Larry Warren is, do you want to take over the
Yeah.
story? There's one chapter where Larry Warren, as a military person, is brought into an elevator and brought down under the ground to, underground, many stories underground, to a place where the aliens seem to be working, I'm sorry to use that word, but the ET's working with humans. That chapter always intrigues me more than any other chapter in the whole book. Could you talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
And I don't know if everyone is familiar with Left and Eastgate, but that's.
Well, let me give you a very quick background. I'm probably best known in this field for co-writing this book, partly because I was the only person in America in our research community who was crazy enough to stick with one case to the exclusion of everything else for almost a decade of my life. And I make no bones about this. It was an obsession and not a healthy one. My co-author and I went completely bankrupt in the course of this, but we produced a book that I will be proud of for the rest of my life. It is an in-depth investigation into the involvement of a very courageous young American who was an Air Force security cop stationed at this particular base in Suffolk, England, and was not only an eyewitness to the most dramatic aspect of a series of events over 3 nights between Christmas and New Year's 1980, now regarded as the best known and best documented UFO incident in history of Britain, but he went on to become the whistleblower and paid a tremendous price for it. In this 530 or 40 page book, we cover the human cost of this, as well as investigate every avenue of physical evidence, documentary evidence. I'm not objective. I've been told it reads like a novel. It's not a fun read, but it's a very important story. And what Francine's referring to is after 3 nights of UFO incursions, 2 nights, I'm sorry, we're talking about the 3rd night here, landings in the woods around these twin NATO bases, RAF Bentwaters, which is now decommissioned, and RAF Woodbridge, only 5 or 6 miles away, which is now fully RAF restaffed and going strong. UFOs were seen over the nuclear weapons storage area. They were fired upon. No hits were scored. This is all documented in military paperwork here. I'm very proud to say that in October 1997, after the first edition of this book came out, this is an updated version, an extraordinary man, his name will ring a bell with some of you, Lord Admiral Peter Gilmorton, was the former Admiral of the Fleet, most highest ranking naval officer in Great Britain, then went on to become the equivalent of like a Colin Powell, the chief of the ministry staff, then went on to become a member of Parliament, and as a member of Parliament, took that book onto the floor of Parliament and faced off with the then Secretary for Defense and asked him 4 very hard questions right out of that book on the floor of Parliament. So I'm very proud of it. Anyway, Francine's question is that on the 3rd night, a machine of undetermined origin appears in a field. American service personnel surrounding it. There is a face-off with small beings, and the next night, a number of the eyewitnesses, as if that weren't enough, the next day they are debriefed, and all of this is in detail in the book. I'm sorry, I just have 6 copies here. They're debriefed. Debriefing in this case is probably what we would call confabulation, a skillful mix of truth and fiction to produce a certain result in the witnesses, i.e. to scare the hell out of them and keep them quiet. However, that night, the night after the incident, a select number of eyewitnesses are taken very much against their will and wishes, chemically subdued, and for the next 24 to 36 hours are gone. They are brought to a huge underground facility